Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Tato Jayamudiraye
Nasta Prashu Abhatrashu
Nashtrayeshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhakti Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki.
Continuing Canto 7, The Signs of God, Chapter 9, Prahlad pacifies Lord Narasimhadev with prayers, text 22.
Sattvam hinitya vijaratma guna swadhamna.
Sattvam hinitya vijitatma guna swadhamna.
Sattvam hinitya vijitatma guna swadhamna.
Kalo vasikuta visrijya visarga shakti.
Kalo vashikrita visujya visarga shakti.
Chakre vishishtam ajayishvara shodashare.
Chakre Vishishtam Ajayeshwara Sodashare.
Nispyamana upakarsha vibhova papanam.
Nishityamana Upakarsha Vibho Prapannam. My dear Lord, O Supreme, great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I am been crushed by the wheel of time, and therefore I surrender fully onto you. I kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. The wheel, the material wheel, time, Kala Chakra. So, in our life, we think some things cannot catch us, right? We think some things won't fall on us, old age, disease. But in the process of time, even that will catch us. So here, Prahlad Maharaj is saying how he's conquered or he's crushed by the wheel of time. Meaning, no one can actually do anything in this material. Eventually, everyone has to surrender to old age, disease, birth, death. That's how it is. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes in the middle of the purport how the material energy cannot be overcome except when one surrenders to Krishna. Mayam hitam tarantite. So he says Maya, the external energy, continuously imposes upon the conditioned souls the suffering of the threefold miseries of this material world. The threefold miseries are Adi Devika, Adi Atmika, Adi Bhautika. So therefore, the Prahlad Maharaj, as in the previous verse, he says, because of the Lord, he is saved. No one can save him but the Lord from this material nature. So the same way we also should take shelter of the Lord, because we cannot get out of it without the Lord's mercy. So as I said, the living entity in this material condition, due to time factor, is continuously crushed, and they have to take birth and then go through the same difficulties until they are saved when they get to the supreme lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So in the last paragraph, Prabhupada writes, the word prapannam is also very significant For unless one fully surrenders to the Supreme Lord, one cannot be saved from being crushed. A criminal is put in prison and punished by the government, but the same government, if it likes, can release the criminal from imprisoned life. Similarly, we must know conclusively that our material condition of suffering has been allotted to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if we want to be saved from this suffering, we must appeal to the same controller. Thus, one can be saved from this material condition. So what does it mean that our suffering has been allotted to us by the Lord?
It's by our choices. Based on the karma.
Based on the karma, you say by choice.
By our choices.
By our choice.
Previous choice.
That's it. By our fruitive activities, whatever we deserve.
By our fruitive activities, whatever we deserve, it'll come to us. So that's what it is. All of you are right. No? The Super Soul will give you your dues according to you.
What is that?
Okay, so text 23.
Drishta maya divi vibho kila dishnapanam.
Drishta maya divi vibho kila dishnapanam.
Ayushiyo vibhava ichchati yanjano yam.
Ayushiyo vibhava ichchati yanjano yam.
Yesmat pitu kupita hasa vijrimbita bru.
Yesmat pitu kupita hasa vijrimbita bru.
Vishpurjitena lulita satu te nirashtaha.
Vishpujitena lulita satunte nirashtaha. My dear Lord, people in general want to be elevated to the higher planetary systems for a long duration of life, opulence and enjoyment. But I have seen all of these through the activities of my father. When my father was angry and he laughed sarcastically at the demigods, they were immediately vanquished simply by seeing the movements of his eyebrows. Yet my father, who was so powerful, has now been vanquished by you within a moment, just like that. You can be the most powerful person. And Prabhupada says that, people like Napoleon, Hitler, Subhash Chandra Bose, even Gandhi. Says as soon as their life is finished, their popularity, whatever they were good at, people don't hardly remember now. Right? Only in history books you have to go and look at and say. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying, I've seen that in my case of my father. So this is all temporary. Basically, he's saying. So nothing in this material world, no matter how powerful it is, can last. Due to time factor, they will also get deteriorate and they will disappear. So no one is actually greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That we should understand. Therefore, if you know that He is the highest, topmost, most supreme, then we should just surrender to Him. And which is what Srila Prabhupada says at the end, and says, saved from the wheel of repeated birth, death, old age and disease. So that's the main idea in this purport. Okay. Text 24.
Tasmadanustanubritamaham ashishogyan.
Tasmadanustanubritamaham
Ayushyam vibhavam indriyam avirisya.
Ayushyam vibhavam indriyam avirisya.
Nechami te vilulitan uruvikramena.
Nechami te vilulitan uruvikramena.
Kalat manopanayama nijavritya parshvam.
Kala manopanayama nijavritya parshvam. My dear Lord, now I have complete experience concerning the worldly opulence, mystic power, longevity, and other material pleasures enjoyed by all living entities from Lord Brahma down to the end. as powerful time, you destroy them all. Therefore, because of my experience, I do not wish to possess them. My dear Lord, I request you to place me in touch with your pure devotee and let me serve him as a sincere servant. Prabhupada says, and this is very nice in the purport, he says, by studying Srimad Bhagavatam, every intelligent man can get experience like that of Prahlad Maharaj. So we don't have to go through what he went through.
Learn from the experience of others.
Learn from the experience of others. So that's intelligent. Through the historical incidents mentioned in this great literature of spiritual knowledge. By following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, one should gain thorough experience that all material opulence is perishable at every moment. Again and again, he is highlighting material opulences or pleasures. We don't want those things. We can use them if we have them, but you shouldn't hanker for them. So this is a constant reminder by Prahlad Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada also mentions that. Because whatever you get in this life is only for this life. If you have billions of dollars, whatever, all these are temporary. So your family, your children, everything is temporary. So whatever you're suffering is temporary. But you need to know that you have to go through, and you, without trying to adjust the situation, if you try to adjust, then more distress, because you cannot get it right. You're supposed to suffer, and you try to stop that, the material energy will somehow or other find a loophole and you will suffer again, even worse. Like that. So every time you see the suffering, you just get more and more anxious about it. And therefore the distress is greater. So even if you have long life or even a short life, everything is gone in a short period of time. When death comes, nobody can stop. Okay. So his point is one should take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And in the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says, there are different types of material opulence. Technically, they are known as Bhukti, Mukti, and Siddhi. Now, Bhukti refers to being situated in a very good position, materially, like a position with the demigods in the higher planetary system, or even a CEO in a local company, where one can enjoy material sense gratification to the greatest extent. Mukti refers to being disgusted with material advancement and thus desiring to become one with the Supreme, then trying to merge. Siddhi refers to executing a severe type of meditation, like that of the yogis, to attain 8 kinds of perfection. Anima, Lagima, Mahima, Prapti, all those things. All who desire, that means, you can use yoga powers. You can read a person's mind. You can make them like you. You can become small. You can become big, like that. All kinds of power you can have. You want that power? You can meditate. Siddhi austerity. You get all that power. All who desire some material advancement through bhukti, mukti, or siddhi are punishable in due course of time. Prabhupada uses the word punishable. It means they will suffer. There's a reaction for it. It's a selfish motivation, bhukti, mukti, siddhi. So therefore you will suffer. So in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, bhukti, mukti, siddhi kami, shakale ashanta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shana. So if you pursue this, you are not peaceful. But if you take Krishna as Bhakti, you will be very peaceful. That's the point. Yeah? And they return to material activities, all these personalities. So Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada says, rejected them all. He simply wanted to engage as an apprentice under the guidance of a pure devotee, which is what we are all trying to do.
3 questions. This statement here, Mukti, refers to being disgusted with material advancement and thus desiring to become one with Supreme. I have heard that there is one verse in 11th Canto where Krishna says, I think it's in Uddhav Gita, that one who was very much like, I don't know the word hate is there or not, the one who do not like material creation or material adjustments or material situations around him, they do not get bhakti until what are the words? The words are like the one who is too much troubled with material. Frustrated is the right word. Yes, yes. They do not get bhakti.
Yeah.
So then, why is that so?
Because it's actually the opposite of attachment and detachment.
That is exactly a verse before that one,
Yes.
but I don't understand that how that is.
It's the opposite sides of the same coin. You know, it's a dollar coin. You say I only like the heads. Someone else say and then you say I hate the tails. Like that. It's the same thing, but you're seeing the other. Just like Arjuna didn't want to fight, right? Because he actually liked his relatives, right? That's why he didn't want to fight. It's not so. It's the same thing. He was attached to the family. Therefore, he said he didn't like to fight.
That case is clear, Prabhu, but if I apply it on my case, I'll say very directly. I also feel very much frustrated. I feel very much troubled. And that is the motivation to take to the path of bhakti.
Yeah, see, your attachment is you don't want those frustrations.
Yeah, and that is what the motivation. I do not have attachment for Krishna.
Therefore, it is the opposite of attachment. So it is still wrong. You know, your attachment is you want peace. So it comes out in the opposite way that you don't want those unnecessary. So it's still the same thing. So one should be neutral, equipoised, distress or happiness. That's the idea. So therefore you cannot come to Krishna because you have something that is negative, or you have something that you are attracted to material nature. You know? It's like some brahmacharis will say, I don't like to see Matajis, don't want to see those. But actually they are very attached to the Matajis. That's why they're talking like that. So they pretend to be detached.
That's a very good example.
Yeah, you can understand that? Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So that's the...
Bhoga Tyaga.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Okay. So I have two more. The second
Bhukti,
one...
now Mukti.
Yeah, Siddhi. I was today listening to one lecture and it just came to my mind. In previous yugas, meditation is the way of attaining the perfection.
Yes.
And in this age, it's the chanting.
Yes.
And every time we say the one who is meditating, they know only the partial realization of Krishna. So in previous yuga, how they achieved the perfection by the process of meditation, if only the result of meditation is the partial realization of Krishna.
Where did you know that it's only a partial realization of Krishna?
Every time we say that, like yogis, they only want the mystic power and the...
Yeah, you see, that's different. When you want something, which is what when they want something for themselves, then the realization is only Paramatma realization. But when the meditation is to serve, then it's Bhagavan realization.
Okay, and in today's lecture, I can show you, I didn't bring my phone, but Maharaj was saying something from Bhanu Swami's commentary. And there he said that one who does the meditation in previous yugas also, they never had a full realization of Krishna. It's only
It depends.
in this age.
No, it depends on how the personalities are guided. For example, when Narad Muni told Dhruva Maharaj, he was speaking Bhakti Yoga, that one serves them. So he meditated within himself and he saw the Paramatma, but he wanted to serve the Paramatma. So that realization is complete. But if your meditation is for fruitive results, like Siddhi, Yoga power, then it's incomplete.
And one more thing.
So, Prabhuji, that
Mukti
Bahunam 6.47, Bahunam Janmanam Ante.
6.47 is not Bhavanam Janma.
6th chapter.
Yoginam Api Sarvesham.
Yoginam
649.
649.
It's no
647.
So basically that is Dhyana Yoga, who is meditating on Paramatma. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gnanam Prapadita.
Bhavanam Janma Ante is one who comes to realization.
Realization at the end of...
Yeah, after all these yogi things and so on, or Jnana Yogi, and he realizes Krishna is
That is
his
the supreme.
is the supreme person that he wants to serve. Then he says, Jnanamam mam prapada. Then he surrenders
To serve. Vasudeva,
to serve.
Krishna.
Yeah. So such a person is rare.
Yeah. So that is like a slow
Coming,
path.
after going through so many lifetimes, sometimes
Finally comes
he
to-
realizes I have to serve Krishna. Yeah. So even if you do yoga meditation and you realize the Paramatma, you are still only in the same platform as a Brahmavadi, Brahman realization, or Paramatma realization. They're not moving more than that. Yeah. But to do service, it's different. That is what we call Bhagavan realization. All right, text 25.
Mutreshi Shashati Shukamritagarshi Mutagarshi Rupa
Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukha Mrigatishya Srupa
Kvedam Kalaviramashesha Rujam Viroha
Vedam Kaleva Ramashesha Rujam Viroha
Nirvidyate Natu Jano Yad Apiti Vidvan
Nirvidyate Natu Jano Yadapiti Vidvan
Kamanalam Madhulaiva Samayandurapai
Kamanalam Maduravai Samayaduravai. In this material world, every living entity desires some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in the desert. Where is water in the desert? Or in other words, where is happiness in this material world? As for this body, what is its value? It is merely a source of various diseases. The so-called philosophers, scientists, and politicians know this very well, but nonetheless they aspire for temporary happiness. Happiness is very difficult to obtain, but because they are unable to control their senses, they run after the so-called happiness of the material world and never come to the right conclusion. This is true, right? You go to school for what? For future happiness. You go to get a degree, then you come to a foreign country to get some good job for future happiness. But actually, it is exactly like a mirage.
The retirement also is like same.
Yeah, retirement
Same
also.
for retirement and then.
So you see advertisement all for retirement, right? They say you go on a cruise liner and all this. But when you're so old, I mentioned previously, what enjoyment you can have.
Exactly.
Huh? All you have to go with your medicine, 20 different pill boxes. It's true, right? And then what kind of happiness is there? And then you're worried, oh, what something happened, my doctor is not around. So all through your cruise, you're hoping you don't get heart attack and die. That's how it is. So, so we all plan, we always plan, but it's a mirage. Because as Prahlad Maharaj already explained, we are all allotted a certain amount of happiness and distress. You can't have more than that. So whatever we have in this life, we have to learn to become very satisfied.
Satisfied with that.
Satisfied. If you can become satisfied, it's easier to then practice Krishna consciousness. If you don't become satisfied, then Krishna consciousness cannot take priority in your life.
Less distraction.
Yeah, you have so much disturbances, thinking I should do this, I should do that. Huh? So you can plan, but your plans will all be destroyed because you also have your karma. And the karma will only determine that much happiness only. Can't do much otherwise. You may put so much effort in raising a child, put so much money, investment, hoping that she or he will become a great person, and they may become that. They will become top student, they get great job, they get married, and then they'll have a court order saying, I don't want my parents in my house. These are real things that has happened in this country. Yeah. So I'm not making this up. All that, your future happiness, you're thinking, oh, at the end, when we retire, my son will take care. But then they got the lawyers and they kick you out. don't interfere in their lifetime. So we have to be very careful what we want and what we aspire for in this material world, because all these plans are just like mirage in the desert, as Prahlad Maharaj is saying. His real point is, where is the happiness in this material world, which is asking. Actually, there's no true happiness. If there's happiness, it's very temporary. Very temporary. It's just like that. Right? For example, at a certain age, when a child becomes an adult, they go through youth. So in the youth stage, they get all kinds of pimples and so on. So they are panicking, and then the doctor will give some medicine, and then they will be happy. But then, not everyone gets the same results, right? Someone will say, "No, I tried this. This medicine is so good." Then, right? So many people, they try, and then they are now 30s, 40 years old, and still they're trying. Right or not? We meet so many people who will tell you. Huh?
It's a billions of dollar industry.
Yeah, exactly. So all your plans will not come true. It's a phantasmagoria. It's something we can imagine only. So the politicians, Prabhupada says, they all know what will happen. The politicians, all those people, all the administrators, they all know, but they don't want to fix the situation. Because it's not to the advantage to fix the system. The more broken it is, the more they will be successful. Right? It's like everyone says the pharmacy medicine is very expensive, but nobody will fix it. So the people who say they'll fix it are actually getting more from them, so they won't fix it. So therefore, Prabhupada says in the middle end of that first paragraph, the so-called temporary happiness through bodily exercises for sense enjoyment. So we should know what we are doing, what kind we are doing, but it's actually for the body. All of us repeatedly make plans, which are all repeatedly frustrated. Therefore, one should stop such plan making. Right? Your plan should be how I will become a better devotee, how I can practice Krishna. Other plans should be that meaningful plan, not over endeavor. The whole point is don't over endeavor. Whatever you can do, plan nicely for your needs, that should be okay. So, the famous example Prabhupada gives is you cannot pour ghee in a fire because it won't satisfy the fire. The fire won't say, "Okay, thank you so much for the ghee. I'll stop burning." No, it become even worse. So that sense enjoyment, like that, it cannot stop it. The whole idea again is, he says, where is the happiness in this material world? What he's trying to tell us is the real happiness is in the spiritual world. So that's what we are supposed to understand. Otherwise, it is just a matter of sense enjoyment. The senses can be enjoyed very easily. At the same time, it can become also unhappy easily also, right? When you're hungry, the first bite you eat is the most delicious. Right? Then you eat, then you're very satisfied. Then they'll say, eat some more. Then you think, yeah, I can eat. Then you eat, then you understand it's too much. Then they say, eat some more, they put some more. Then you become frustrated. That which you are enjoying, and now it's been frustrating, Then you're thinking, if I don't eat, they'll not be happy. Then you force yourself. So it's temporary. Coughing. Gives to everybody. Then. How is that, brother?
I give.
Okay, so it's like a fire in the senses. So you have to be very careful. Text 26.
Vaham Raja Prabhava Isha Tamo Dikesmin
Vaham Raja Prabhava Isha Tamo Dikesmin
Jata Suretara Kulet Tavanukampa
Jata Surendra Kule Bhagavanukamba
Na Brahmano Natu Bhavasya Na Vairamaya
Na Brahmano Natu Bhavasya Na Vairamaya
Yanmer Pita Shirasi Padma Kara Prasada
Yanmeta Shirasi Padma Prasada. O my Lord, O Supreme, because I was born in a family full of the hellish material qualities of passion and ignorance, what is my position? And what is to be said of your causeless mercy, which was never offered even to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or the goddess of fortune Lakshmi? You never put your lotus hand upon their heads, but you have put it upon mine. So as Prabhupada says, he is surprised. He is humble actually. So therefore he is surprised because of the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. He didn't expect that. He's very humble. He never thought the Lord will become so intimate with him. So the Lord, Prabhupada writes, Lord Narasimhadev kindly placed his hand on the head of Prahlad. This is the meaning of causeless mercy. On his own, he didn't ask for it, but the Lord wanted to touch him. The causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead may be bestowed upon anyone, regardless of his position in this material world. Everyone is eligible to worship the Supreme Lord, irrespective of his material position. Which means you shouldn't complain, saying, oh, I'm in this situation, I'm in that situation. You should be able to worship. Anyone can worship. That is the point. You don't have to be well educated, you don't have to be wealthy, you don't need any of this qualification. All you have to have is some bhakti, and you can then worship the Lord. And then in the third paragraph, Srila Prabhupada writes, because Prahlad was fully engaged in the service of the Lord, his body did not belong to the material world. What is that? Yarhasya haridasya karmana manasa gira. Nikulasva avastapi jivan mukta samchate. So one who uses his entire body for the service of the Supreme Lord, he is automatically jivan mukta, liberated. In this case, Prahlad Maharaj is engaged so completely, so he is liberated, or one can say he's not of this material world. Just like when Srila Prabhupada dedicated completely to Krishna, we do not burn such bodies. We put them in samadhi because they are non-different from the spirit itself. There's the whole spiritual body itself like that. The same way, Prabhupada writes, the pure Vaishnava's body is spiritualized even in this life. Just like the example, when iron is put into fire, it becomes like fire. Like that. So that's a good example. So Madhavacharya talks about this whole situation, that even Lakshmi couldn't get this mercy. Anyway, she was afraid to come near him right? She's always with the Supreme Lord, but the Lord doesn't give such a mercy. Rather, he's more inclined to, Srila Prabhupada says, his devotees. So what does it mean? It means devotional service is greater when it is offered even by Chandalas, like that. The Lord accepts it as being more valuable than the service offered by the goddess of fortune. What is the service? Pada Seva, massaging.
So Prabhuji, here, when Lakshmi Devi is a devotee, right? So how do we understand this?
It's a comparison, no? Just comparison. That he got more than what she's massaging him, and the Lord is okay. That's good. You do that service. But whereas for Prahlad, he went and wanted to have a more intimate relationship like that. He seems like that. Touched him, caressed him like that.
So Prahlad Maharaj in which rasa? Dasya rasa?
No, we were reading previously. His rasa is like Vatsalya.
Like father.
Yeah.
It's the other one. He treats.
Something like that. Interesting, but that's what the rasa seems like.
Yes.
Yeah?
Vatsalya.
Vatsalya. You mentioned, remember, Prabhupada mentions it.
No, it's not Dasya. It's not
Vatsalya.
Dasya.
It is mentioned in one of the.
I
Of
don't
course.
remember this.
Yeah. We just read a few days ago.
So my understanding about Vatsalya is always like you see the Lord as son so far, because
No, it can be mutual, right?
Yeah, it can be mutual. Yeah.
but Dasya you cannot reverse.
Dasya is one way only, you know. No. The thing is, the Lord doesn't take the Dasya position, rather he becomes Bhakta Vatsala. So he will serve in any capacity, fall out of love. Yeah.
So, sorry. Vatsalya is from Lord to Prahlad Maharaj. Lord Nrsimhadev.
Yeah.
To Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah.
It's another variety.
It's interesting, but that's how Prabhupada explains it. So he has like that relationship with Nrsimhadev. And they say because of that, in the next, the Lord was thinking, oh, this is very nice, so I want to experience more. And he came as Ram to experience that with Dasara. That's what they say like that.
After Prahlad.
Oh yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Lord wants to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's how he is. That's his Leela Purushottam.
So
no?
he's also Mahajana category.
Who?
Janaka we could say explicitly, but Dasrath is Prahlad Maharaj same. Dasrath you're saying. So the Dasrath is Prahlad Maharaj in his next life. No.
Nrsimhadev once experienced that. So he came as Ram, I say, to experience Vatsalya Rasa.
Vatsalya with
Yes,
Dasrath.
yes.
Okay, but
The Lord also wants experience, right?
So generally we think Vatsalya is we are parents, right? It's other
that's why I'm saying this is special.
It's interesting. So that's why I say it's very interesting. Prabhupada says like that. So the Lord also wants to experience that. And so he becomes Ram and he experienced the Vatsal Ras through different people. And later on, as Krishna is experiencing it fully, completely. Like that. Okay. So even if you're on the lower planetary system, you can still perform your Krishna consciousness. Text 27.
Naisha paravaramate bhavato nanu syaj.
Naisha paravaramate bhavato nanu syaj.
Janto yatatma suhrido jagatastatapi.
Janto yatatma surido jagatastatapi.
Samsevaya surataror ivate prasada.
Samsevaya surataro evate prasada.
Seva nirupamudayo na paravaratvam.
Sevanurupamudayo naparavaratvam.
Unlike an ordinary living entity, my Lord, you do not discriminate between friends and enemies, the favorable and the unfavorable, because for you there is no conception of higher and lower. Nonetheless, you offer your benedictions according to the level of one's service, exactly as a desired tree delivers fruits according to one's desires and makes no distinction between the lower and the higher. So Prabhupada quotes, the way the Lord reciprocates is the way you worship Him and He reciprocates. He's just like an ordinary human being, if you can compare, right? If you say hi to someone, they'll say hi to you, right? If you go and hug them, they'll hug you, like that. So the relationship is how we reciprocate. So he says, Ye yatama prabhudyanti tam satyeva bhajam. So how we approach the Supreme Lord, that's how He is also going to come and relate with us. You know? As one surrenders to me, I reward him accordingly. So then Prabhupada says, according to the service the living entity renders, he automatically receives benedictions from Krishna, who does not make distinctions, thinking he is a person in an intimate relationship with me and he is a person I don't like or I dislike. We will do that, right? Like very simple example is you are serving sabji, and then everyone sitting down, you'll serve nicely. Then you see someone you don't like, you serve little bit. Yeah, that's the nature of the living entity, right? He sees the distinction. I like, I dislike. But the Lord doesn't see. He gives exactly what they need.
Pakoda means direct.
Pakora, you miss the pakora. You don't. That really happened one time. Then they become 20 years, they hold the grudge. No, really happened stories in ISKCON. You can't imagine, no? But the sensitive nature can happen because we have this situation where we see friends and enemies. But the Lord don't see those things. But we will see. Or you go to temple room and then some Prabhu comes, he say, Haribol, they didn't look at you. So their mind must be something, something, maybe they lost a job or you don't know. Right? They just go in, pray to the Lord, run out quickly. And you say, man, this guy, who is he? Right? So after that, your consciousness about that person is always negative.
We expect robotic response.
Yeah.
I told you, he has to tell me.
Yeah. They never say, oh, maybe he's busy. It's okay.
So Prabhu, how to get rid of that grudge? I have many brothers.
First, write it down. Yeah. Then you see why. You ask yourself, why? Why is that? Why is it a grudge? Are you okay? Yeah. Write it down first. Question yourself. Then you find out what they like, and then you can go and serve them accordingly. Grudge means you don't like them, you don't want to serve them. So to overcome that, you serve them. First, you serve with somebody who can serve them also. So that way you have some courage. Then you keep serving and then you'll overcome the feelings. It's like that, it's a feeling. It's just an ego.
So when somebody is serving, we need to think, are they having a grudge or are they serving?
You can. If you want to.
So if nobody is serving, maybe I'm okay.
Then you also have to understand, nobody likes to serve you.
That's true, that's also it.
I have to fix myself. You have to understand how to fix it.
Yeah, you say everyone get played, you don't get played, then you know there's a message there.
Next time you don't get pakoda.
Now the whole idea is this friends and enemy business. These are all material concepts. In the spiritual realm, you are not a friend or enemy, you're all servants of Krishna. Yeah. So even though you are embodied in this material world, so it doesn't change. Your constitutional position doesn't change. So how is it that you see one person as enemy, another person as servant, friend? It's a very curious way of looking at it, but at the same time, it's also interesting how we perceive. So Prabhupada also gives the example, you wear sunglasses, So you see through the different lenses. If you wear blue shades, you see everything blue. You wear yellow shade, you see everything yellow. Yeah. But actually they're all the same color, but then because of your shades, you're seeing differences. So you are the problem. You have to realize that. So just like you may say, that person is so harsh to me, but then what was your reaction? You got angry with them. So you're also part of the problem. So then you have to adjust that feelings. It may take time, takes practice, but then that's how we have to overcome. Yeah. Or you go through a very difficult situation where the roles may be reversed. Then you realize how that other person is feeling. Then that realization, then you immediately come and say, no, I'm sorry if I've hurt you like that, right? When you realize. So that's how you can give up the grudges. Grudges must be given up. Bhishma Dev says in the 9th chapter, 1st Canto, there's 9 things he highlights. One of them is to give up grudge. So you can't go back to Godhead if you have grudge.
I heard that. So which particular sloka, that particular sloka talks about?
I think in verse either 27 or
26.
somewhere around the 26. Yeah. So you can look up later. So.
9 points, right?
9 points.
Yeah, 26.
verse 26, 9th chapter,
9th.
first canto.
Okay, so Prabhupada says, according to the service the living entity renders, he automatically receives benedictions from Krishna, who does not make distinctions, thinking he's my friend or enemy or something like that. All Krishna is thinking is, he needs my help and I'm giving him like that. So Krishna advises everyone to surrender to him, irregardless of who they are. One's relationship with the Supreme Lord is in proportion to that surrender and the service one renders on to the Lord. So you may say, what about the demons? Well, they are also serving the Lord in different capacity. Because the demons want to fight with the Lord, so the Lord says, no problem, I'll fight with you. Like that. Not that the Lord wants to fight with them. It's the other way around. They want to fight with Krishna. So Krishna says, okay, I'll fight with you. Try to understand. It's not like, the Lord purposely went and fought. No. He is reciprocating like that. Okay? So,
It is 26.
huh?
1926.
Okay, you can go and read that.
9 characters.
Not to lie, angry, distribute well, to forgive, not to hold grudge. To beget children only by one's nature, to be pure in mind, hygienic, cleanliness, not to be inimical. Same thing, grudge, forgiveness, inimical, to be simple, and to support servants or subordinates. Okay? Right. According to your desires, the Lord will grant you benedictions. So if you want to go to heavenly planets, you may be chanting nicely and so on, but in your heart you are thinking, I want to experience Indraloka. I want to know what. Then He will grant you that, yeah?
Even Jaya Vijaya, they had in their heart, we want to fight with the Lord. That's why.
I have not read about it.
Oh,
I have never read anything about that by Prabhupada. But in some people do say that they were also talking like that.
So then Krishna made an arrangement so that they can.
Yeah, but I've never read it. Not that I'm saying it's wrong. I said I've never read it. I've heard also, but I've never read in Prabhupada's purports.
Do we hear the others where Lord wanted
Yeah, Prabhupada only says the Lord wants to.
exhibit his character?
Prabhupada says the Lord wanted that fighting spirit. And so then the qualified people He chose. And then the other thing He says is one time, I think also that Lakshmi wanted to come and see Narayan, and Jai and Vijay, somehow they blocked her. And so then she was unhappy. So the Lord told them, you will have some reactions. So that's the only one I've read, I believe. But otherwise I've not read the other one that you're saying. But I've heard in some classes people would mention.
Even in Ramayana, Jambavan, he had that intention to fight with Ram. So he was born again.
No, he didn't take birth.
He's the same one.
He's a Chiranjeeva.
I don't know, I remember that situation.
In Ramayana, he wanted to fight.
No. Yeah, Jambavan, he come.
How do you know? Where is it stated?
In Ramayana,
Unless you have read it, if you have heard it, then it could be from different versions of Ramayana. Sometimes they go to the Puranas and they'll say, so and so felt like that, right? And not everything is revealed in some cases, so they pick from different sections and to explain sometimes. Maybe it was in a different millennium also, you don't know. But anyway, it doesn't matter, it makes sense. Yeah. That's a good point to bring, that the desire of the devotee is fulfilled, just like the demons want to fight, so the Lord fulfills the desires. So similarly, if the devotee want to fight, Krishna fulfills that also. Yeah. So nothing wrong with what you're saying. It's fine. It's acceptable. Yeah. So if you want to remain in this planet, in this earthly, like a dog or a cat or a pig, if that's your consciousness, then the Lord will let you come back. It's a dog, pig, and so on, like a dog, right? If you want to be a dog in America. If you're a dog in India, so you pray to be a dog. Then they'll treat you like they put you a big throne and treat you so. India, they'll give you a nice stick. Right? And you hear the dogs cry in India. So ultimately, he fulfills everyone's desires nicely, according to that. Of course, when he fulfills, we have more desire than what we had originally. So we are always not satisfied. So we have to come to the point of being satisfied. Of course, if you're still not satisfied in this life, then Sukadeva Goswami says, Akama sarvakama va mokshakama tivrena bhakti yogena yadati purusham para. Whatever desire you have, or you have so much desire, or you have no desire, or you desire liberation, you please worship Krishna. And accordingly, the Lord will reciprocate what is good for you. The difference between Krishna and demigods is demigods will just give you what you ask. Krishna will see when you are ready for it. So sometimes it may not be good for you. So he will wait until you are purified. Then he'll give you and you'll say, I don't need it. Like that. Like Dhruva wanted everything. So, but he got purified and the Lord wanted, he said, please, I don't want. The Lord said, it's okay, you can enjoy now. But he really didn't want to enjoy. But he said, it's all right. So the Lord is very kind in that way. He's always purifying. Purnam, like that. Text 28. Yes.
So how our desire should be like how the demons, they wanted to fight. They have a precise desire, right?
Yeah.
How to...
Your desire should be serving Krishna.
Serving, like there are so many...
Exactly. So pick something you can do that you feel comfortable.
Yeah, because in the spiritual world, everyone is like elevated and everyone on the scriptures. We cannot do even preaching also. So
you do something you can. You can preach. It's not like you have to quote from Shastra. You know, you can preach by your behavior. You can preach by, he says, prasadam.
Yesterday, nothing.
Yeah. So yesterday, big preaching you did.
Another opportunity.
Yeah. Everybody wants more teaching.
You preach to. No, you can do it like you go in India and so on. You go to the airport, you can give prasadam to people like that, or you can give small books to anyone there. You just talk a little bit of Krishna. Yeah, you see someone nice, you say, I really like you, I want to bless you. Then you act like that, and you say, I want to give you some prasadam. Then they'll be happy. Right? People want to eat, so you give prasadam. Or you can give a small book. When you're flying aircraft, next guy sitting next to you, or some Mataji, you can give something, like that.
The other day, I tried to call all my American neighbors because they never come home. So I called them mainly because I thought I can serve them prasad. And then they asked, like, is there any prayer? Like, they do the prayers right before eating. So I make them do the Hari the mantra.
Yeah, you're a big preacher now.
No, I'm saying, like, then we have to sow the seed, right?
Yeah, that's nice. Did you give them prasad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next
We made their ask them to pack for their husbands.
Okay.
Everybody was happy.
They will also cover the devotees service began.
Your 16 hours is working
now.
Very good. Yeah, that's how you do. Very nice. Do whatever you can do to serve Krishna. That's all. You don't have to become like, we all cannot be like Prabhupada. We can't. But we can follow in his footsteps. Whatever little we can do, we should do sincerely. Right? And we shouldn't aspire for mystic siddhis. Change.
Evam janam nipatitam prabhavaki kupe.
Evam janam nipatitam prabhavaki kupe.
Kama vikamam anuya prapatan prasangat.
Kama vikamam anuya prapatan prasangat.
Kritvat masat surashina bhagavan grihita.
Kritvat masat surashina bhagavan grihita.
Soham katam nuvishije Tavabritya sevam.
Soham katam vishate tavabritya sevam.
My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires, one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? So this is very nice. In one sense, he's saying, if we do not take up this process, he's putting himself like us, fallen, then we have to take birth so many times, one after another, to trying to experience new desires, material desires like that. So he was in the womb when he heard all these things. So he's talking about in previous life also it's like that. The situation is in every life we are like that. We are always trying to blindly try to enjoy senses. And therefore we are falling into a well full of snakes. And someone merciful comes along and they give us this knowledge, and then we can become liberated. So therefore we must take shelter of spiritual person and then try to serve them, and they can bless us like that. So he's saying that I don't want any other benediction. He's saying to Narasimha, I just give me the benediction of serving my spiritual master. I don't want any material benediction. So then Prabhupada says, after the Narottam Das Thakur's prayers, one should not be anxious to offer direct service to the Lord. Okay? Right? Everybody wants, when you get second initiation, first thing they want to do is go on the altar. And they only want to dress Nila Madhava. Right? That is the way everyone is. So, should not be anxious to offer direct. The mood should be to offer direct service to devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised that one become a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Gopi, Bhartur, Padakamalayo, Dasa, Dasa, Anudasa.
Prabhuji, that mood of directly going and serving Lord, the highest, is that also kind of sense gratification?
It is sense gratification. Because we are not at that level, no?
But Prabhu, I have heard one should take second initiation only if they have a desire for deity worship. Otherwise,
true, it is true, but at the same time, the mood shouldn't be, I only want to dress Nilamada. That shouldn't be. It should be, you should have the proper mood. That means they will take second initiation and then they'll come 1 week, 2 weeks, third week, they'll say, I cannot do this anymore. But for 10 years, they may be dreaming of going on the altar. After 3 sessions, they had enough. Om Tat Sat. So that is wrong move. That is wrong move. That is not what we are talking about. That means commit forever, serve any deity happily. Any deity. Or sometimes, if I can't serve Nilama, I'm not coming. That means who are you serving? Yeah, your ego. No? Right? So we don't approach Krishna like that. We approach and through the Vaishnavas. So the first service should be rendered to the spiritual master, so that by his mercy one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to render service. So after you take initiation, you should ask the spiritual, what can I serve you? How can I serve you? Tell me. I want to please you. You should say like that. And then the spiritual master will tell you, okay, if you do this, I'm happy. So you say, really, spiritual master, is that all you want me to do? Like that. So then they will say, yes, no problem. So try to please the spiritual master, and then one should attempt to please the Supreme Personality of God. First, you have to please the spiritual master. And Prabhupada says that is the secret of success. Okay. Yasha Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada. So that's how it is. So Prahlad Maharaj proposed that he engage in the service of Narada Muni because of this mood. He never proposed that he engage directly in the service of the Lord. He didn't say, okay, Nrsimhadev, let's go. No? Right? We are done. Leela is over, let's go. He didn't say. He said, let me do service. Yeah. He didn't even want to go back. He said, I want to do service. This is the right conclusion, Prabhupada says. So that's how our mood should be as servants. Text 29.
अनन्तपितुर्वदश्च मन्ये स्वभृत्य शिवाक्यमृतं विधातुं खड्गं प्रगृह्य यदवचो असद्विदित्सुस् त्वामीश्वरो मदपरो अवतु कं हरामि
Haram, 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 haram. Translation. My Lord, O unlimited reservoir of transcendental qualities, you have killed my father Hiranyakashipu and saved me from his sword. He had said very angrily, if there is any supreme controller other than me, let him save you. I shall now sever your head from your body. Therefore, I think that both in saving me and in killing him, you have acted just to prove through the words of your devotee. There is no other cause. Otherwise, the Lord is equal to every living entity. Right? As Prabhupada says, he has no friend and no enemy. Samoham sarva bhuteshu. Okay? So that is very important to know. The Lord actually doesn't take sides. Unless the devotee is worshipping him and showing so much love, he responds in kind like that. So the Lord came to fulfill the promise, Kantaya Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranasya, to prove the words true of Narada. Because Narada Muni said the Lord will protect you, don't need to worry. So therefore he came to prove that Narada is truthful like that. And Prabhupada writes, the Lord can fulfill many purposes through one action. Thus the killing of Hiranyakashipu and the saving of Prahlada were enacted simultaneously to prove the truthfulness of the Lord's devotee and the fidelity of the Lord himself to his own purpose. The Lord acts only to satisfy the desires of his devotees. Otherwise, he has nothing to do. As confirmed in the Vedic language, Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. The Lord has nothing to do personally, for everything is done through his different potencies. Which is true. He has so many unlimited potencies. Means he finds pleasure actually. Otherwise, why is he doing it? He's Atma Rama. So therefore, he doesn't have to do. So why is he doing it? He must have the rasa that he gets by doing that service, the Bhakta Vatsalya, service to his devotee. He finds great pleasure. So therefore, we can understand that the Lord has nothing to do personally, but he wants to do it because he is happy to do it. Right? So therefore, service must be pleasurable. Okay? That's the understanding. Even the Lord who is doing service to his devotee means the service aspect must be pleasurable. That's the understanding. So when we do service, we must feel pleasure. If not, there's something wrong. So sukham kartum abhyaya. You must be feeling pleasure. So you have to think about it. Why I'm not feeling pleasure? There's something, some material thing blocks us. It's not the spiritual activity. It's a material consciousness which is blocking us from doing it happily. Okay? And then, thus when he personally does something, it is only to satisfy his devotee. The Lord is known as Bhakta Vatsala because he very much favors his devoted servant. So he favors them, but he also enjoys serving them. So that's something you should say. How can the Lord enjoy? Because of the rasa, he enjoys them. Okay, so that's something for you all to think about. Text 30.
Question.
Yeah.
So when we do service, we have to feel the joy, but sometimes
no joy.
No joy, but I guess just because there is no joy, we shouldn't give up the service.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If you do a service and you don't feel joyful, means you have some issues in your heart, and that's stopping you from experiencing the joy of service. So you should see it like that, but not give up the service. Then what are you going to do? You'll sleep extra 2-3 hours, and you think that's joyful. Right? Okay, next verse. That's 30.
एकस्त्वमेव जगदेत मनुष्ययत्वम्
एकस्त्वमेव जगदेकमनुष्ययत्वम्
आद्यन्तयोगतमस्यसि मध्यतश्च
आद्यन्तयोगतमस्यसि मध्यतश्च
सृष्ट्वा गुणव्यतिकरं निजमाययेदम्
सृष्ट्वा गुणव्यतिकरं निजमाययेदम्
नानेव तैरवसितस्तदा प्रविष्टः
नानेव तैरवसितस्तदनुप्रविष्टः. My dear Lord, you alone manifest yourself as the entire cosmic manifestation. For you existed before the creation. You exist after the annihilation, and you are the maintainer between the beginning and the end. All this is done by your external energy, through actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature. Therefore, whatever exists externally, internally, is you alone. Now, who says this earlier on in the second canto? Similar thing, not exactly.
Chaturshloki Brahma.
Yeah, Chaturshloki Brahma.
Brahma's prayers.
Evam Ivagari. Right? Yeah, he says.
Evam agraha.
It's okay. So it is in the Chaturshloki, 9th chapter, verses
30 something.
30.
33 to 36 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evam Vivagre.
Vivagre.
Evasam.
So how do we study so much? We write exam.
You forgot. It's okay. You have to keep constantly, as you get old, it's even harder.
So we have to know all these shlokas and all that.
No, you only need to know one shloka. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This other slokas is as you preach, it's useful.
But Prabhu, if you tell that, then in the exam, everybody for all shlokas they are going to
Exam is different. Yeah, exactly. Exam is different.
Just write once and put it out.
Then you don't need to sit, right? Right?
Many.
Nanya Sat Asat Param Paschat Ham Yad Etachas Paschat Ham Yad Etacha.
Aham evasam evagro income.
Yeah. That's okay, don't worry now. Go back later and check. Now, in the last paragraph of that purport, Srila Prabhupada says about the Lord's multi-energies, different energies, infinite energies, right? He says, because the energy and the energetic are one, everything is one. Sarvam kalau idam brahma. We are also part of his energy. His creation is also part of his energy, right? So, in one sense, this is the philosophy or tattva that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, right? Achinta, abheda, bheda, tattva, right? Because it is the same energy, one is transformed in different ways. So then we exist in different ways, material energy, the Jivatma and himself. But it's all coming from him, the same. So in that sense, we are all the same, but transformed. Right? So that is the proper understanding. So Sarvam Kalo Idam Brahma, everything is one in the sense that they are all the same energy, or the source is the same. Therefore, without Krishna, the Para-Brahman, nothing can exist. So then it makes sense. The difference between the material and spiritual worlds is that his external energy is manifested in the material world, whereas his spiritual energy exists in the spiritual world. Both energies, however, belong to the Supreme Lord, and therefore, in a higher sense, there is no exhibition of material energy, because everything is spiritual energy. The only thing is the material energy is a transformation of the spiritual energy. The energy in which the Lord's all pervasiveness is not realized is called material. So when you are absorbed in material energy, you cannot understand the Supreme Lord. That's what he's saying. Otherwise, everything is spiritual. Therefore, Prahlad's praise, Ekastvam eva jagat itam, you are everything, which is true. Okay? It's not that he's making some new statement or whatever it is. Let's see. $33, $34, $35, $36. 36. Aham eva asam eva agri. Nanyad yat sad asat param. Paschad aham yat etat. Yo vashisheta. Swasmi aham. So that is very similar. He who exists before Brahma, it is I who existed before, like that. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
That you see in
Hmm?
yeah, they almost translation is
Almost similar. That's what I'm saying. So one thing you should understand: the scripture you will read, you'll find that there's no new things.
Realizations are all similar.
It's all the same thing. And yeah, and also the pure devotees would say the same thing, their realization, same thing. Krishna says the same thing. He doesn't change in different yuga, different things. He doesn't say all this Kali Yuga, the philosophy changes. No, it's the same philosophy. The methodology may change, how you apply it may change. So that's very important to, you have to try to appreciate that. So, verse 31.
वा इदं सदसदीश भवांस्ततोऽन्यो
त्वं वा इदं सदसदीश भवांस्ततोऽन्यो
माया यदात्मपरबुद्धिरियं ह्यपार्थ
माया यदात्मपरबुद्धिरियं ह्यपार्थ
यद्यस्य जन्मनिधनं स्थितिरीक्षणं च
यद्यस्य जन्मनिधनं स्थितिरीक्षणं च
तद्वै तदेव वसुकलावदस्ति तर्वो
तद्वै तदेव वसुकलावदस्ति तर्वो. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the entire cosmic creation is caused by you, and the cosmic manifestation is an effect of your energy. Although the entire cosmos is but you alone, you keep yourself aloof from it. The conception of mine and yours is certainly a type of illusion, Maya, because everything is an emanation from you and is therefore not different from you. Indeed, the cosmic manifestation is non-different from you, and the annihilation is also caused by you. This relationship between your lordship and the cosmos is illustrated by the example of the seed and the tree, or the subtle cause and the gross manifestation. So Prabhupada quotes very nicely, Bijam mam sarvabhutanam viddhi partha sanatan. I'm the original seed of all existence. So the same thing, the seed and the tree. You can't see the tree in the seed, but somehow or other the tree comes from the seed. So that's what Prahlad Maharaj is comparing. So Prabhupada continues, in the Vedic literature it is said, Ishavashyam idam sarvam. Yatho va imani bhutani jayante and sarvam kalau idam brahma. All this Vedic information indicates that there is only one God and that there is nothing else but Him. Of course, we know that the Mayavadis, they will come up with their own philosophy like that. But here the Lord Himself is saying that He is everything and yet is separate from everything. Okay, this is the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is called Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Everything is one, the Supreme Lord, yet everything is separate from the Lord. This is the understanding of oneness and difference. Simultaneously one and different at the same time. Okay, so that is our philosophy. Huh?
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable. Simultaneously one and
Huh?
simultaneously one and different. That is inconceivable.
That is inconceivable. But it is conceivable. If you understand, you can understand that is conceivable. That is what Srila Prabhupada wants us to understand. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada continues, every day we can experience the time factor as morning, noon and evening. And although morning is different from noon, which is different from evening, all of them taken together are one. Means they are the day, right? The time factor is the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Lord is separate from the time factor. Everything is created, maintained and annihilated by time. But the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, has no beginning and no end. I existed before, I existed in the middle, and I existing at the end. That's the second verse, right? No, I'm saying that's the second verse of the Chatushtaka. So this is the same thing Prahlad Maharaj is speaking. Okay, we all want to see that. Go ahead. Yatha vaso, yatha tamaha. At the end, everything is also there, even though there's nothing. Ignorance. So basically, the Lord is always present. He's Nitya, Shashvata, Nitya Shashvata, eternal, and He's permanent, Shashvata. Everything passes through in the material world the time phase. And so you have the present, the past, and the future, like that. But the Lord is the same person, right? Every avatar He comes, but He's still coming from the same thing. He just wears a different uniform, but He's the same person. So the material energy is always in flux. That means it's always changing. But the Lord doesn't need to change. And in the second last paragraph, Papa writes, we may conclude, therefore, that there is no difference between one thing and another, yet in varieties there are differences. In this regard, Madhavacharya gives an example concerning a tree and a tree on fire. Both trees are the same, but they look different because of the time factor. Right?
Transformation.
Before the fire was there, the tree existed. And then after that, the tree is same. The only thing that changed was time. But what is this time factor? It's the energy of the Lord. So Prabhupada writes the time factor is under the control of the Supreme Lord. And therefore the Supreme Lord is different from time. An advanced devotee consequently does not distinguish between happiness and distress. So Prabhupada just brings it straight down to the fundamentals. Nah? He's saying don't look at the difference between the happiness, and then he quotes from the 10th canto. Tattena kampam susamikshmana bhunjanamayarma kritam vipakam. It's a famous verse spoken by Lord Brahma. That what is that? That you, whatever the situation, they take it as a blessing. When a devotee is in a condition of so-called distress, he considers it a gift, a blessing from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how many of you are going to now take it as a blessing? If you remember. It's tough call, no? Huh?
It's very difficult.
Very difficult, yeah. Right? You let's say you had a big fight at home with your wife, you came here. Then you go home, you have to consider it a blessing. How? Not possible, right? It is difficult because, unless we are purified properly, sufficiently, these things will bother us. Sometimes you won't sleep, right? Think about all the problems, the issues, like that. For weeks sometimes, for months sometimes. So a devotee in distress who's qualified, he thinks it as a blessing. When a devotee is always thus situated, that means he's 24/7 thinking like that. In any condition of life, he's described as mukti padaye sadayaba. He's already liberated, a perfect candidate for returning home back to Godhead. That means he's eligible to go back to God because he doesn't see anything as negative or positive. He just sees it as a blessing of the Lord.
So this is beyond that samadrishti.
Yeah, it's not
Samadrishti
samadrishti.
Yeah, this is above
Pure devotee.
pure.
The pure devotee is also samadrishti.
He also has this, but beyond, he has more.
Well, I'm saying a pure devotee is also a samadrishti.
Samadrishti.
Yeah. Yeah. Text
Seeing
32.
beyond that means that it's not like seeing it as a blessing of the world. That's
Yeah.
what he meant by
Yeah.
beyond. Right?
So that's like pleasure. He's,
Yeah, he sees everything pleasurable.
yeah. Sandrananda Vishesha. His fifth characteristic.
Text 32.
यस्येदमात्मनि जगद्विलयान्दु मध्ये
नश्येदमात्मनि जगद्विलयान्दु मध्ये
शेषेत्मना निजसुखानुभवो निरीहः
शेषेत्मना निजसुखानुभवो निरीहः
योगेन मीलितदृगात्मनिपीतनिद्रः
योगेन मीलितदृगात्मनिपीतनिद्रः
तुर्ये स्थितो न तु तमो न गुणांशयुंषे
तुर्ये स्थितो न तु तमो न गुणांशयुंषे. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, after the annihilation, the creative energy is kept in you, who appear to sleep with half-closed eyes. Actually, however, you do not sleep like an ordinary human being, for you are always in a transcendental stage, beyond the creation of the material world, and you always feel transcendental bliss. As Karana Dakshai Vishnu, you thus remain in your transcendental. You appear to sleep. This sleeping is distinct from sleeping in ignorance, Yoga Nidra. This is Mahavishnu. Okay, he's lying in the Karana ocean. So Prabhupada quotes the appropriate verse. Ya Karana Navajale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidramananda Jayananda Saroma Kupa Adara Shakti Mavalamya Param Swamurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So he describes, Brahma describes who this Karana Vishnu is, Karana Dakshaya Vishnu. He is the Mahavishnu. And from him, so many, countless number of universes just come out of his pores, from his pores of his skin or hair, like that. And it is Yoga Nidram. So it's mystic slumber with his Yoga Nidra is not like our Yoga Nidra. So Prabhupada says that our Yoga Nidra is all mode of ignorance. This is not, this is transcendental situation. He's in bliss actually. He's experiencing bliss.
So,
what is Mahavishnu?
Yoga Nidra Mahavishnu. So when we were discussing Canto, then the pastime of creation, so we were mentioning that he still has the pastime with Ramadevi.
Yeah, internally the pastime is continuing.
So
externally seems like half-closed eyes, but internally the pastime is with this Lakshmi. Ramadevi is with him. Like that.
Another thing is Arjuna and Krishna, they went to his abode, right? Simultaneously in his abode also. So they went to his abode, which big description is there.
Yes.
Last chapter, 10th Canto.
Yeah.
So that means he is simultaneously in his abode too, right?
He's everywhere actually. Narayan, Krishna's expansions are still there, and Krishna is here with all the expansion as well. It is said that in that situation, the Mahavishnu himself wanted to see Krishna and Arjuna. So he made that stealing of the babies from the Brahmanas. So
Prabhuji, I think asking, like he is sleeping as well as also situated in his abode separately sitting.
Is that? Yeah, both. Yeah.
Both.
Yes. Achintya. Because when you go there, they go there, they see him lying there, then he gets up to talk to them. Yeah. He has all his associates, all of them around him, so then he discusses with Krishna and Arjuna like that.
There is a palace also.
They go to his abode in the palace here. It is achintya. You can't really understand how that is. Yeah.
Cannot perceive how devotees are still in bliss while Lord is just sleeping. Cannot conceive that.
And then Krishna comes back in the same time. That's another problem. Otherwise, Lord Brahma just.
That's why it's called achintya. He's there, he's doing that, and he's also doing something else. Or when in Dwaraka, Krishna has 16,108, he's doing 16,108 activities. So we cannot understand, we'll go crazy. So when Narada saw that, he was given that ability by Krishna to go to all those places at the same time, and he was like overrun. How was that possible? He was amazed. So Prabhupada writes at the paragraph, at the middle of the paragraph, the difference between Yoga Nidra and Nidra. Then he says the Lord is always situated in transcendence, eternally. He is Satchidananda, eternally in bliss, and thus he is not disturbed by sleep like ordinary human beings. It should be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in transcendental bliss in all stages. Again, he quotes from Madhvacharya. He states that Lord is Turya Stitaha, always situated in transcendence. In transcendence, there is no such thing as Jagarana, Nidra, Susupti, wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep. So the Lord doesn't go through that, we go through that. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada continues, the practice of yoga is similar to the Yoga Nidra of Mahavishnu. What does it mean? Yogis are advised to keep their eyes half closed. That means a practice. But this state is not at all one of sleep, although imitation yogis, especially in the modern age, manifest their so-called yoga by sleeping. In the Shastra, yoga is described as dhyana vastita, a state of full meditation. But this is meditation upon the Supreme Personality God. Dhyana vastita tad gatena manasa. That means the mind is gone to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Yoga practice does not mean sleeping. So nowadays you see a lot of them do yoga, they're actually sleeping. The mind should always be actively fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Then one's practice of yoga will be successful. So if you focus on the lotus feet, you can get liberated just like that. So even the Lord is amazed. How is it people meditate on my feet and can get liberated? So then he tried to taste his feet. So he became a baby on the banyan leaf. So that's why you see him biting the feet to experience what this bliss is. That's inconceivable.
So this Turya Sthiti, Prabhu, this is experienced by those who are very advanced devotees also.
I'm not sure if that's the same.
Transcendental consciousness. Like when Rupa Leela are revealed, pastimes are revealed in the heart.
Yeah, you can say always situated in transcendence. If that's the definition, yeah. But I'm not sure if it's only applicable to the Lord or not. Yeah. Right? Like in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Stita Pratya. So it's the same thing. Yeah, Turya Stita. Text 33.
तस्यैव देव पुरिदं निजकालशक्त्या
तस्यैव देव पुरिदं निजकालशक्त्या
संचोदिता प्रकृतिधर्मण आत्मगूढम्
संचोदिता प्रकृतिधर्मणात्मगूढम्
अम्बस्यनन्तशयना विरमत्समेधे
अम्बस्यनन्तशयना विरमत्समाधे
नाभेरभूत्स्वकणिकावतवन्महाब्जम्
नाभेरभूत्स्वकणिकावतवन्महाब्जम्.
This cosmic manifestation, the material world, is also your body. This total lump of matter is agitated by your potent energy known as Kala Shakti. And thus the three modes of material nature are manifested. You awaken from the bed of Sesha, Ananta, and from your navel a small transcendental seed is generated. It is from this seed that the lotus flower, the gigantic universe, is manifested, exactly as a banyan tree grows from a small seed. So again, the same reference. But here he's talking about Garbha Dakashaya Vishnu. The previous verse was Karna Dakashaya Vishnu. Okay. So then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the three different forms of Mahavishnu, namely Karanadakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Shirodakashaya Vishnu. Means Mahavishnu expands into Karanadakashaya Vishnu, and then from Karanadakashaya, countless Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, unlimited number of Shirodakashaya Vishnu manifests. Alright, who are the origin of creation and maintenance are gradually being described. From Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu generated, and from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Shirodakashaya Vishnu gradually expands. Thus, Mahavishnu is the original cause of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu comes the lotus flower from which Lord Brahma is manifested. Thus, the original cause of everything is Vishnu, and consequently, the cosmic manifestation is not different from Vishnu. Again, he quotes from the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Matta Sarvam Pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Who is this Garbhodakashaya? He is an expansion of Karana Dakashaya Vishnu, who is an expansion of Sankarsha. Shirodakashaya is the other way. In this way, Krishna is ultimately the cause of all causes. Sarva Karanam Karanam. So what does it mean? The material world is a subset of the spiritual world, actually. Things in matter, it cannot exist on its own. It has to come from somewhere. So it is a subset of spirit. So therefore, Prabhupada says we can understand that the material body is caused by the spiritual body. And therefore an expansion of the spiritual body. Thus, when one takes up spiritual activities, one's entire material body is spiritualized. It means if you are 100% doing for Krishna, the service, not for anymore for yourself, then your material body is as good as spirit. So if everyone in this world takes up Krishna consciousness, the whole world becomes Vaikuntha, spiritualized. That's exactly what Prabhupada says. The entire world becomes spiritualized. Text 34.
Tatsam Bhava Kaviratonyadapa Apashyamanas
Tatsam Bhava Kaviratonyadapashyamanas
Vambhijamatmani Tatam Sabahir Vichintya
Vambhijamatmani Tatam Sabahir Vichintya
Navindadapta Satamapsu Nimajjamano
Navindadapta Nimajjamano
Jate Kure Katamuho Palabhata Bijam
Jate Kure Katamuho Palabhata Bijam. From that great lotus flower, Brahma was generated. But Brahma certainly could see nothing but the lotus. Therefore, thinking you to be outside, Lord Brahma dove into the water and attempted to find the source of the lotus for 100 years. He could find no trace of you, however, for when a seed fructifies, the original seed cannot be seen. It's true. And he couldn't see, it becomes so big, he couldn't see the Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. So Prabhupada gives a similar example. When cotton is transformed into thread, the cotton is no longer visible. It's true. And when the thread is woven into cloth, the thread is no longer visible. Similarly, it is perfectly correct that when the seed that had generated from the navel of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu became manifested as the cosmic creation, one could no longer understand where the cause of the cosmic manifestation is, because it expanded the whole lotus stem into the universe. Modern scientists have tried to explain the origin of creation by a chunk theory. Prabhupada said chunk. They say Big Bang, But no one can explain how such a chunk might have burst. The Vedic literature, however, explains clearly that the total material energy was agitated by the three modes of material nature. How does it get agitated? By? Yeah, but what is that?
This law.
What's Shakti? No, Kala Shakti and the Jiva. When they both come in, then it gets agitated. You need Kala and the Jiva. Jivatma is with the
desires.
With the karma already. Okay, and the glance of the Supreme Lord. They come in the glance of the Supreme Lord. In other words, in terms of the chunk theory, the bursting of the chunk was caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one must accept the Supreme Cause, Lord Vishnu, as the cause of all causes. In Big Bang Theory, they will say it exploded. You tell them why it exploded, they won't answer. They'll say, no, it's a big forces. But why? How was it before that? They cannot answer, right? Why is only in exploding? Why before that? Why? How was it? They won't answer. So they say it's perpetual. It gets compressed, it explodes, it compresses, and explodes. Like that. That is their theory.
Yeah, where did it come from?
Yeah, they won't say. Where did all these elements come from? They cannot answer. Text 35.
Satvama. Satvama.
Sa.
Sattvamatmayo niravi ati vismita ashritobjam.
Sattvamatmayo niravi ashritobjam.
Kalena tivrata prasapa vishuddha bhavaha.
Kalena tivrata prasapa vishuddha bhavaha.
Tvamatmanisha bhuvidandamivati Ivati sukshmam.
Tvamatmanisha bhuvidandamivati sukshmam.
Bhutendriya sayamani. Bhutendriya sayamaye. Vitatam dadarsha.
Bhutendriya sayamaye vitatam dadarsha. Lord Brahma, who is celebrated as Atma Yoni, having been born without a mother, was struck with wonder. Thus he took shelter of the lotus flower, and when he had been purified after undergoing severe austerities for many hundreds of years, he could see that the cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was spread throughout his own body and senses, just as aroma, although very subtle, is perceived in the earth. The whole purport is very nice. We will read that. Here the statement of self-realization, Aham Brahmasmi, which is interpreted by the Mayavadi philosophy to mean I am the Supreme Lord, is explained. The Supreme Lord is the original seed of everything. Janmadi asya yataha. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate. Thus, the Supreme Lord extends everywhere, even throughout our bodies, because our bodies are made of material energy, which is the Lord's separated energy. One should realize that since the Supreme Lord spreads throughout one's body, and since the individual soul is a part of the Supreme Lord, everything is Brahman. Sarvam kalau idam Brahman. Very nicely explained. This realization was achieved by Lord Brahma after he was purified, and it is possible for everyone. When one is completely in knowledge of Aham Brahmasmi, he thinks, I am part of the Supreme Lord. My body is made of his material energy, and therefore I have no separate existence. Yet although the Supreme Lord is spread everywhere, he is different from me. This is the philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. An example given in this regard is that of the aroma within the earth. In the earth there are aromas and colors, but one cannot see them. Actually, we find that when flowers grow from the earth, they appear with different colors and aromas, which they have certainly gathered from the earth. Although in the earth we cannot see them. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his different energies, spreads throughout one's body and soul, although we cannot see him. An intelligent man, however, can see the Supreme Lord existing everywhere. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. The Lord is within the universe and within the atom by his different energies. This is the real vision of the Supreme Lord for the intelligent man. Brahma, the first created being, became the most intelligent person by his tapasya, austerity, and thus he came to his realization. We must therefore take all knowledge from Brahma, who became perfect by his tapasya. Very nicely explained. I mean, how much more can you explain? Very nicely explained. So one thing is the fragrance coming from the earth, the color coming from the earth is so nice. Yeah. It's manifested by the flowers. It is said the fragrance is also coming from Krishna. At the night when he goes to bed, he takes out his clothing. Yashoda puts it in the basket to wash, but the gopis come and take it. Vinda Devi and all. So they use that fragrance and they grow the flowers. So all the flowers, the fragrance you're smelling is Krishna actually. So different aspects of Krishna your fragrance is. So we combine all the fragrance of flowers, you'll smell Krishna.
It's amazing, right?
What about odor then?
Huh?
What about odor, smell, and bad smell, odor?
That is the perverted reflection of the real fragrance.
That is in the material.
Yeah, only material is the odors.
Chapter 15.
Chapter 15. Okay. So we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue 36. It's all long chapters. The 10th is also a long chapter. But anyway.